Welcome. I'm Josh Bailey with the Pima Post here, and I'm currently interviewing Eric Welch, who is the fiscal analyst at Pima East. So, what's it like interacting with faculty here and being you, so to speak? What does your job entail?
So, great question. Pleasure to be here. So, in interacting with faculty, I actually, more in previous roles when I was actually a business manager at the downtown campus, I've been at Pima College for about 18 years, so had several, different areas I've worked in within finance. And I would, actually work with faculty on almost a daily basis when I was business manager at downtown campus. But in my current role, we're working mostly, I'm part of the billing operations team. So we're working mostly with like external agencies who want to sponsor their employees. They'll pay for their employee to attend Pima College as a student, or working with billing outside agencies if they want to rent out a parking lot or, stuff like that, or a conference room here at the college. So
Gotcha. I know that HBO, when they were shooting here at the school, they had to go through you guys. What was it like really working with HBO's team or conversing with them when they wanted to do things around here to get permission?
Well, they were actually amazing because typically when we issue an invoice to a company or an agency to pay for, in their case, they rented out an entire parking lot here at West Campus so that they could do, I believe they did some filming and whatnot here, but they needed to rent out the parking lot for, I believe, 2 days. And while we give most agencies 30 days to pay, they wanted to pay the invoice the same day we issued it to them, all electronically and whatnot. So we're on the phone with them, and they actually walked up to, because they were here at West Campus, they walked up to our West Campus cashier's office and actually paid for it in person, because it was amazing. I'll always remember that, because they didn't even want 1 day to lapse on that invoice. They wanted to make sure it was paid the day it was issued. And so if all agencies could be that amazing when it comes to paying their invoices, that would be outstanding. But they definitely set the bar high for sure.
So you've worked with some big ballers, shot callers in the past then?
HBO being one of the biggest, but, stuff like Raytheon and Amazon and some of the larger companies and whatnot, we definitely work with on an everyday basis. So,
Gotcha. What sort of teams have you led in your professional career here at Pima?
Yeah, so my professional career here at Pima, I led a business office. So at the downtown campus, for example, under an old model before a reorg a few years ago, is that each campus had its own individual business manager, which basically anything fiscal or anything monetary or money related to do with that campus was operated within that office. And so at the time, we're talking anything regarding travel, anything regarding budgets of the different deans that were located on that campus, as well as cashiering. So like the accounts receivable, any students that needed to pay their bill, they could walk up to cashiering, issue student IDs and whatnot. So anything like that we needed to collect money on basically came through my office.
Gotcha. What's it like really having a large portion of your job sort of put online and automated with COVID and the pandemic?
I actually love it personally. I've always been one to want to leverage technology and reduce paper. Before the pandemic, if you needed a signature, a lot of times if there was not an electronic approval set up, you'd have to inter-office, and that's basically sending a document to be signed from one campus to another or from one office to another. So you figure it takes a day to get there, takes a day if they're signing that same day, at least a day to get back, just to get an approval. So that's like 3 business days right there. If you have a weekend in between, then everything's put on hold until you get that approval, right? So what we've done is the pandemic basically forced the leveraging of technology. So I've become really proficient in Smartsheet, and our whole group has, to where that's call it a software of which you can automate approvals. And that's just an example of taking like a third-party software and being able to utilize and apply it to your everyday work life, to where you can get an electronic approval in seconds. Let's call it 3 seconds versus 3 days. And so that's what I love about it. Business doesn't really get put on hold when you leverage technology, because you're able to Another example is rather than traveling to another campus to have an in-person meeting, we here at the college use the Google platform. And so we're using like Google Meets and whatnot. So you can have an immediate video meeting with anyone. Or if you need something that's a little more like you don't have to have a meeting for it, you just do an instant message. So I think the leveraging technology has actually improved the amount of business that can get done. And if you're working from home, let's say, during the heart of the pandemic, I feel you actually get more done. Although there's those distractions at home and whatnot, whether it be family, kids, pets and stuff. I feel like you can still get more done because I'm actually pretty social. So when I'm at the campus, there's a little bit of socializing. You get the phone calls, the walk-ins, the emails, and just human nature to be a little social and have that in-person interaction is amazing. And that's what was lacking during the pandemic that we're still, coming out of. But by not having as much of that, it actually increases productivity.
Gotcha.
Of the amount of work you can get done. So,
yeah, speaking of social, students really don't get to know the faculty that well. You've mentioned that you have a YouTube channel. You do you do a lot of sort of different stuff. What does that entail? What do you get out and do when you're not at your job?
Yeah, so my YouTube channel, can I plug it? Is that
Go ahead.
All right, so you want to look up The Welcher. That's the, and then Welcher is WELCHER. So it's youtube.com/C/The Welcher. So it's a variety on my channel. I have, I believe, over 100 videos. It's been active for about 5 years, and it's basically a creative outlet for me. And so we're doing anything from filming locations, like you line up the way something looks now versus the way it looked in a movie or television show. And also like stuff like unboxings or even like some spicy challenges. I've gotten really into that in the last couple of years. Call it pandemic boredom. But the spicy challenges have ramped up on my channel as well. Got a whole crew doing that. So just that creative outlet where everyone can just kind of, be themselves and just doing it for that versus, some YouTubers will do it for the money. Yeah. And that's not something that's the goal of mine. It's just that almost, again, that creative outlet. So.
And in your free time, you do martial arts. Is that correct?
I did when I was growing up. I got my black belt and went to the world championships and stuff. Wow. So, man, that was, seems like a lifetime ago. I'm like in my mid 40s now. But once I did everything I could in martial arts, or at least in Okinawan Shuri-ryu karate, I switched to music, playing electric and acoustic bass guitar, as well as some continuing to do acting.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Did you find that goes hand in hand with performances and music, acting?
I think so. Yeah, you have to be able to be comfortable in front of people. Developing different techniques to do that. It's much different acting on film than it is on stage. I've done both, and it's so different. But at its core, you just have to pour yourself into the character.
Totally.
Right? And if you do that, you can be successful both on film and in person.
So you've done acting. Have you taken any courses? Sorry about that. Have you taken any courses here at Pima Community College?
Actually, no. So all my courses were in high school. I took like 3 solid years of it and doing like acting competitions. And since then, I've actually been in a lot of Pima College directed employee appreciation videos, as well as some graduation videos as well for graduation, as well as some student film projects. And that's what I've been doing most recently, is partnering with some students here on some of their film projects and just volunteering. I'll be an actor in your thing, just to, it's kind of like, it's in my DNA. Like you can't fight it, because my father was offered a role in the original Broadway production of Cats.
Wow.
Back in the day. So I say it's in my blood. Now, if he had taken that role, I would not be here today. So I kind of so he didn't, because he was dating my mom, and the rest is history, and the Welcher was born,
So getting back to your duties here at the college, what's it like being in account receivable service and just dealing with the finances here in general, and especially with students?
Yeah. So that's an excellent question. So what's amazing is working with students to help find solutions. There's really a few options in which a student can resolve the balance that's on their student account. And helping students do that is one of our primary focuses. And so they can pay it in full, the balance out of pocket. They can enter into a payment plan and make payments. Or if they've applied for and receive and approve for financial aid, whether it be grants, loans, scholarships, we help them with that entire process and timelines and kind of what to expect. And then one of the best case scenarios is what my team works on. And that is if they are working for a company that's willing to pay for their tuition, to where the student doesn't have to pay anything out of pocket, as long as they meet the grade requirements of their employer is going to pay their their tuition, and it really reduces student debt.
Oh yeah,
which is fantastic. So
that's amazing. It's given the post-pandemic society we have to live in. A lot of students don't really sometimes have the ability to instantly pay off the tuition. Payment plans, especially that Pima has offered, I notice has really increased the student pool, so to speak. Enrollment and students just coming in has raised ever since these payment plans have been a little bit more accessible, and since Pima wiped out the debt.
Yeah. Yes, that was nice. There were some federal funds that were able to be utilized for that during the federal pandemic funds column.
Yeah,
and so you saw that transpire then. That's great. It's great to hear from a student that was able to benefit from that.
Oh, so. I wasn't personally the one to benefit from it. I got here a year after the student debt was cleared. So
awesome.
That's awesome. But the fact that they did it in the first place means some. And anyone can recognize that from a student's perspective is that, a lot of places won't really do that. They won't give you that sort of little grace and leeway. Pandemic was a one-time thing, but hey.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So all that being said, have you had any problems working in your field? Like ones that was just a really no good, terrible, very bad day?
Sometimes if... Sometimes it is, as much as I talked about earlier, leveraging technology and the way it improves our work lives. If a server goes down or if there's something that goes wrong to where you can't log into your systems in order to conduct work is what's affected me the most. Working with students and helping them find solutions has actually been one of the better, great things.
Highlights.
Yeah, highlights. Yeah, But in terms of if that amazing technology takes a nosedive, even for a few hours, you're rearranging everything on your calendar. But the good thing about that is that anyone else that's using that same system is likely in your meetings that are scheduled that you're going to have to move around anyway. So the cool thing about working at Pima College is no matter who you work with or talk to, we're like all in the same boat. And we're here for students first. The students are the number one. Everything else is, second.
So how do scholarships go through your department in the first place? Is it just really automatic funds, or is there something you have to do to really set that up to work with students?
So the students, they actually work with the scholarships department that's within actually the financial aid department. And there's a whole scholarships webpage. Like if a student logs on to pima.edu and just in the search bar, the quickest way is just type in scholarships. It'll take you to the financial aid scholarships webpage, and it'll lay out all the different options and whatnot. So the student has to apply for a scholarship, and if they're awarded the scholarship, then the financial aid and scholarships department will call it almost like post it to the student's account. And then our role is to, if it pays off the balance and there's some remaining and it's a refundable scholarship, we can refund the call it the overage to the student. Most scholarships that I've seen are refundable, but there's some non-refundable where it can only go towards tuition and fees and not be refunded to the student. So from our side, from a fiscal standpoint as to whether, how a scholarship can be applied fiscally, we just follow the rules that way. So a scholarship or a grant is amazing because the student doesn't have to pay it back as long as they meet the, the minimum criteria and qualifications, and they had that minimum completion rate and grade point average associated with it to keep it. So that's great.
Gotcha. Yeah. So really closing on that statement, what would you say your department needs? Has it been well funded? Has it been really taken care of by the college, or do you think there needs to be some aspects improved within it?
I will say that I think that the work environment within my department is great. I enjoy working with my coworkers. I enjoy working for my supervisor upline. I think that, especially in a community college, because we are state funded and other sources of funding, there's always we could always use more. We could always additional funding is always needed. But I'm very impressed with the way my department that I work in, again, accounts receivable services, has been able to align things within. We have teams within the department so that we can have subject matter experts and things feel streamlined with the upward use of technology and whatnot. So we're able to more than survive without the additional funding, but the additional funding from the state would always be nice.
Gotcha. So, alrighty. Thank you so much, Eric, for coming on. It was a really, really great pleasure getting to know you and talk with you here.
Pleasure being here. Great to meet you, and I appreciate everything.
Alrighty. Thank you so much. Everyone listening, you have a wonderful day. Again, I'm Josh Bailey with the Pima Post.